your host, Samantha Stone, and we have a lot of great community things to talk about today. We're going to talk about Northeast Metro Tech, a school building that's going on and where it's located. We've got a couple of guests here who are going to chat us about that. And we're going to talk to our friends at SCI, Leah and David, about some great things that are happening there. I'm very excited. The mayor is not able to join us today because he's in a teacher negotiation conversation. We know that that's an ongoing challenge and we want him there. We want to get a great contract in place for our teachers and our city. And so we're grateful that he is doing that. I do want to give you a couple of city updates in his absence, just to make sure you're aware of those things. First and foremost, I want to let you know that on December 22nd at 6 p.m., and I'm sure there'll be additional communications about this, we will have the Menorah Lighting that will be happening in the center. I know a lot of people have been asking about that. We're really excited to have that date. Dale Goldstein is driving that, and she'll share lots more information, but I wanted to make sure you were aware of that date. That just got settled into everybody's calendars. And if you haven't checked the Woburn Public Library lately, please go look. There is a ton of awesome activities that's happening around December. There's teen movie night, gonna watch Elf. I'm looking at the paper because I want to make sure I get these right on December 14th. I'm gonna say this wrong, so you'll all have to forgive me, but the Hanukkahs, it's like a puppet theater thing on December 30th that looks really fun, and somebody correct me and send in how to pronounce that correctly. I'd love that. And there's a Merry Minstrels on December 17th, which looks like a really wonderful music performance. So tons of stuff going around the city. We'll also talk to the mayor the next time he's on the show about the skate park that's coming up. I know there's been some questions about locations and things, so we'll talk about that with him when he's able to join us again, hopefully next week. And in the meantime, actually, it won't be next week because I am out of town next week. I'm going away with some girlfriends to Christmas Spectacular Dollywood. I won't bore you with the details around that, but it'll be exciting. So I will see you the following week where we'll be showcasing some of our small businesses and some of the great things that they provide for us as a community. So all that being said, please welcome Leah and David. Welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks, Samantha.
I'm really glad to have you on, David. I know recently you celebrated 20 years with SCI. That's just kind of mind-boggling for me to think about. What a really tremendous opportunity to have given back to the community for 2 decades. I mean, I don't want to make you sound old, so I should stop saying how many years that is.
20 years is a lot of time. I'd like to try and tell you that I started in high school, but I went to a certain number reunion for high school this past weekend, and it wasn't my 20th. So yeah.
Well, we're glad that you've been around and helping really inspire an awful lot of people. Leah's going to join us. We're going to talk about a program that she's running and introducing. And one of the things that I really admire about SCI is that there's great community outreach, but a lot of innovation, a lot of change, and a lot of things that are always new and experimenting and trying and such. As you look back on these 20 years and really look forward, how do you see SCI continuing to serve the community moving forward?
Yeah, great question. I think one thing that really comes to mind is, we're always, keeping our eyes open for ways we can partner with organizations and bring in people who want to make a difference in the community for whatever's like really pressing at the time. And that led us, of course, we've had a few pressing issues in recent years, needless to say. So that has definitely led to some recent innovation. So I think one of our themes is, I don't know if it's for the whole next 20 years, but, say the next 3 to 5 years is really taking some of those things that just kind of got incubated over the recent years and really growing them. I mean, one example is, mental health had been an issue for young people, certainly before the pandemic, but was exacerbated. And so we started a youth mental health initiative, actually a couple projects that spoke to that, including a program called Leaders for an Equitable Tomorrow. And we were able to create a summer internship program for students working on that topic. So that's actually something we're looking to build and expand. Similarly, in other opportunities for youth getting involved. And because if we want to have long-term change over the next 20 years, one good place to focus is to giving young people skills for seeing problems in the community and addressing them. In fact, maybe Leah, when before she tells about her new event, could even tell how she started with SEI was when she was in high school. So we definitely have a lot of great, being around 20 years, you see those kind of long-term ripple effects that come through. Another thing that would be an example, we did a few things certainly around with the increased attention to racial justice issues. We supported and put together an AAPI support vigil in 2020, and then the first Woburn Juneteenth event back in 2020, and look to have the third. I know you volunteered at the last one, Samantha, and we're always—
I directed traffic.
Yeah, you did a great job.
A
No
very
accidents.
unimportant role, but it was great to be there and say hello to so
Yeah.
many wonderful people. It was really wonderful.
And in fact, the team working on that, led by Phil Gordon, our deputy director, has already started meeting for the 2023 event. So definitely, I don't want to steal their thunder. Hopefully they'll be on between now and June, but definitely hoping to be even bigger and better than the year 2 event. And the mayor has been very supportive, and the library is a great partner on that event. So I think our theme is like, how do you really, take some of these things of seeds were planted and really help them grow over the next several years.
I love that. And I really, it's Juneteenth event is so fabulous. I joke about directing traffic, although that is what I was doing. But the thing that really struck me is 2 families who happened to be in Woburn, were not from Woburn, happened to be there. One was looking at houses, and I can't remember what the other one was. And they stumbled upon us at the library. And their just bright smiles and excitement about us having a Juneteenth event, and the size and scale of it, and all the people from across lots of different parts of our community being there and coming together. It was just a really proud moment for us as a city. And it was really lovely to see how people outside the city were responding so positively to something that is near and dear to SEI and Phil in particular, who does just amazing work and rallied a lot of people together. So we'll definitely talk more about that as we get closer to summer.
Right.
Yeah. One of the other really, really important things that SCI has done is to help our elderly neighbors with leaf raking and pickup and things. And I know we recently had a service day on the 19th, I believe, of November. Are there additional days for leaf pickup, or are we done with that for this year?
Well, we're done with leaf raking, but we'll continue the theme. So we've had 2 days, and we had over 100 volunteers. So a huge thank you to everybody who came out. And one of the wonderful things about that is we had volunteers from preschool age, volunteering with their families, up to a lot of student groups from the high school. We had several athletic teams out. It was great to see, and so multi-generational volunteering, because some agencies aren't able to take younger kids volunteering, but a lot of parents want to start, passing on those values at a young age. And leaf raking is very accessible to younger kids as well as grown-ups and teens. So that's great. Now, leaves, I know there are still some leaves on the trees, but we did sort of decide that's wrapped up for the year. But we anticipate there might be some snow coming. Nothing in the forecast, but when the snow comes, the similar theme, but we match volunteers with seniors to help them with snow shoveling, particularly seniors that can't shovel for themselves and maybe don't have a budget to hire somebody to do that. So that is probably even a bigger commitment than the leaf raking. You get out on a nice fall day, and we try to match volunteers up with someone they can help all winter, ideally when it snows. But we look for volunteers that are willing to do that, and we try to match them with somebody close by, so you don't have to drive across town in a snowy condition. So really almost like bringing back that neighborly idea, help a senior in your neighborhood. But we can take volunteers that are sort of willing to be like on call, like if we match those regular shoveling buddies up and somebody's going away or something, we do also love to have some people that can be a backup.
That's great. Thank you for that update. Leah, it's really nice to have you here. I am going to make you go back to the high school Wayback Machine a little bit, maybe not as far back as for me, but a little bit back. Tell us a little bit about what your experience is like, how you got involved with SCI.
I'd love to. So yeah, I just go way back to high school. I graduated in 2007, so it's been some years. But I was active in high school in a few different groups, and actually was a multi-year participant in the mini grant program with SCI. What was really amazing, and I'll always remember, doing that, because I think I talked to a few different of our youth participants, and when you're young, you think like, oh, okay, I can kind of try to do something. I can try to do, different projects. But you don't necessarily have the funds or the resources to do them. And, not every group does. So what was really cool about the youth project, the youth mini grants, was I had friends that were in youth council, and they were telling us about funding that was available. And they were the ones deciding who was getting the money and how it was done. So we got to learn about the grant making process, as well as get funds to do these really cool projects. One of the ones was somewhat, I don't know that our advisors loved it so much. We did do a girls sleepover at the Boys and Girls Club with Keystone Club with middle school girls. I will always remember that's what it was. It was, I think the middle school girls probably still remember it as a great night. We were like, what were we thinking? We're taking care of all of these girls, but it was really fantastic. We focused on health products and different things that middle school girls might need. So it, that was something that was formative for me. And then a few years later, I had gone to college. I'd flown a few different career paths and realized, what, my heart's really in nonprofit. Connected with David actually through our previous holiday event, through our holiday house tour. My parents were on it. I mentioned that I was thinking about moving to nonprofit work, and ended up at SCI as a staff member and managed the AmeriCorps program for 3.5 years. And now I'm back again as the communications and development manager, telling our story and raising some funds.
I love it. And raising the most famous young man in all of Woburn.
Also that, yes. I also go by Oliver's mom or Michael's daughter. So.
I'm really glad and excited. And you did something today that was just like a massive hit, right? So we had these holiday light tours. I think it's the first time, it's certainly the first time I've known about it. And like sold out almost instantaneously. Tell us a little bit, for those folks who were able to get tickets, what they'll be experiencing.
Yeah, so yeah, this is our first event like this. Again, we had done the holiday house tour in years past. That was really great. With a pandemic, we weren't sure that, we were ready to go back into homes. We thought maybe we could try doing a little more family-friendly event. I have, as you mentioned, a 3-year-old that I don't know people would want going into their homes, well, beautifully decorated. So we thought, let's try a trolley tour. Let's see how it goes. It went. It went really fast. We were really excited. We're very pleased to partner with Woburn Rec. Brian over there has been wonderful, and we'll be using the old Spence Farm space, which is a really great space. If you haven't checked out any of Woburn Rec's programs, I'll do a plug for them. And we're going to have a small kind of what I'm calling a winter festival that's going to be the starting and stopping location of a short trolley tour throughout Woburn. I'm really excited. It's going to be a great event. We have almost 200 people that will be joining us. For everyone that didn't get tickets, first, we hear you. We want to make it a bigger event. We see that it's popular. We are already thinking about plans for 2023 and looking forward to that. But of course, focusing this year on making this a great event. And
there is a wait list online for anybody who does want to be added, correct?
Yes, there is a wait list. I will say I did that thinking maybe we could add more trolleys. At this point, we don't have the capacity or the ability to do that. Also, with the old Spence Farm building, is beautiful, but also on the smaller side. So with people going in and out, this isn't a possibility this year. But just thinking, and on that topic of trying to add people and make the event bigger, is would love to get more support from our business community. We are selling sponsorships as well as ads, and it's also going to be a great advertising opportunity, I think, and also affordable. Ads start at $75, and which is a great segue to, if you did miss it, in addition to the next year's event, we'll also be making the trolley route and just different stops to see lights available online. So we're going to put together a program book that's going to be a printed book for attendees, but also going to be available online for free. So with business ads, so just another plug there. But you can still do the tour.
That sounds really fun. I remember at the height of the pandemic, my then, I guess, 19-year-old and I drove around with cookies and hot chocolate in my car and Christmas music playing and looked at all the sites. So it can still be super fun. For those folks, have all the houses been selected, or are you still accepting applications for people who would like their home on the tour?
Yes, thank you. So yes, we would love help planning our route, and I guess we only gonna do if we can't cover all of Woburn in one night, but we also will be sharing kind of the best place to see lights. Yes, we can share our link on our website for signing up your home or your business, or just let us know what your favorite neighborhood to go to is. We'll be collecting all the info we can, and also be just doing some driving around with probably some cookies as well.
That sounds like a job that lots of people might volunteer to take responsibility for. So, Leah, thank you so much for joining us, to both you and David. Always wonderful activities that are happening. Really excited to see what you guys are doing. Next up, I have new guests. Linda and Paul are going to join me. They're with the Friends of Wakefield's new, the Northeast Metro Tech, which is our trade school for Woburn, and many of our young ladies and men attend. My own now 20-year-old went there and was a metal fabrication student, and is really doing great in their job and going to night school, getting their journeyman's license, and they had a really good overall experience. So we're thrilled to have you here. As many of you know in the community, we've talked about on the show, there is a desperate need for a new school building. That was voted on and overwhelmingly passed in Woburn and many of the other communities, because we share the cost of building the new school, since it is a school that serves 12 or 15, lots of cities. I'm going to get the number wrong. And so that's going to happen, and we're really excited about that. Linda, I'd love to have you. I know there's some concern about the proposed location for where the school is going to be built. It is today, the school is adjacent to Breakheart. And for those of you watching, if you've never been for a walk on Breakheart, go. It's absolutely stunning and lots of paths and nature. And we're very fortunate in Woburn to have Horn Pond, but this is an even bigger area if you want to check out something different. Linda, tell us a little bit about the concern you have raised about the proposed location.
Thank you for the opportunity. If you go to the Wakefield entrance to Breakheart Reservation and look up to your right, there is a forested hilltop. It's actually what many people believe is part of Breakheart Reservation. It's probably the most untouched part of the original 600+ acre Breakheart Hill forest that was saved from development a long time ago by people who cared and make sure it was transferred to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. People do not realize that that is the site of the proposed new VOC. In 2016, the pre-feasibility study, which was widely publicized, recommended building on the athletic fields. And that was then again publicized in 2018 and 2019 when they entered the feasibility study. So basically everybody thought they knew where the school was going. And so I don't think they paid very much attention to the details, because you're looking at satellite photographs. They're a little bit confusing. They're a little bit dense. And the decision to actually move the school to the hilltop site was not finalized until February 2021 at a meeting of the Massachusetts School Building Authority. And at that meeting, they commented that, building on the athletic fields also meets the educational program goals and allows the current school to continue with minimal disruption. However, you will have to make adjustments for use of the athletic fields. Now, there are several athletic fields, even within walking distance in Wakefield. And of course, there are fields that could be shared with the other 12 sending communities. The issue that we have is that putting this school on top of this hill, this is approximately 6 stories up, and it's a 5-level school. So the school, the student parking lots and the new athletic fields are going to remain at the bottom of the hill. There will be 100 steps between the student parking lot and the lowest entrance of the new school, which is below ground level. This is approximately a 60-foot change in vertical elevation. 100 steps that are on a north-facing slope, all weather, students carrying backpacks, students looking at their phones. That's it doesn't really make sense. And I think one of the reasons this happened is that the decision was made in the pandemic. People were meeting over Zoom, looking at satellite maps. The building committee never visited the site. If you go to the site, gate 23 of Breakheart starts at the guardhouse. That little so if you park right there and go up gate 23, walk up this beautiful trail, walk up to the top of the hill and look down and look at the distance and the elevation change and think about, does this make sense? This is risky. This is burdensome. This is inefficient. And it's also, this is core forest habitat for rare wildlife. We have documented a new population of eastern whippoorwills. The flora is amazing. There's an assessment tool called Floristic Quality Assessment, which shows that this forest has an amazing range of plants and very few invasive plants. It's, as you can see from behind me, this view in fall, this is also a well-loved forest. The paths became deeper in the pandemic, and in the previous discussion about mental health, I mean, keeping this forest for the community and the students, it just makes sense. Why are we building a difficult to access school at a cost of, it's going to cost $40 million in total site work costs? The hill has got to be reduced by 35 feet. When they remove that 35 feet of hilltop by blasting, they will create a 650-foot long cliff wall, which will run along the entire western edge of the school. This cliff is going to have hazard fencing at the top, a huge catchment ditch at the bottom with guardrails to keep falling rocks from the access road that goes around the school. It's the entire design does not make a lot of sense. It's also, the school is already over budget, like all large projects. But unlike other large projects, there is a solution. The building committee was offered the opportunity to build on the athletic fields for less money, a more accessible, a safer school. And that option was sent to the MSBA. And I think I included a photograph showing a compact, accessible school at the base of the hill.
Thank you for sharing that and raising the concern, because I have to plead complete ignorance. I did not ask any questions about where it was located and was under misunderstanding that it would be basically on the current site. You know, obviously they would keep the old building open while they built, and then they would, you know, assume demo it. Paul, thank you also for joining us. I know that this is something that is of concern for you as well. Has anyone raised, you know, if they were to move the location of the school to closer, you know, not on the hill, but closer to where it is, does that introduce delays or concerns about the size of the building or anything that you're being told is sort of justification for keeping the school on the hill?
First, I just wanted to say that I am part of a grassroots effort. There's a lot of folks that are involved on Twitter, on Facebook, and different groups. So it's not just about the Friends of the Northeast Metrotech Forest. But yeah, I got gravely concerned when I started attending public meetings and hearing answers to some of my questions were really scary. They were planning to put in the new school with no sidewalks on the driveway, which is a half-mile long. The difference in elevation is staggering. The fact that I asked about the 100 stairs, asked about the 700-foot of ramp because it's too steep for a sidewalk. And the answer given to me in the public hearing was that they have verified that they can underwrite and insure this building. And I said, that is not the right answer. And that building inherently is going to be more unsafe with cliffs, with 700-foot of ramps, with over 100 stairs. It is going to be a compromised building plan. So I have gotten really involved with my town manager and everybody I could talk to say, hey, why are we going in this direction? As the superintendent DeBerry says, the train has left the station, but it's going in the wrong direction with the wrong game plan for a subpar school that's going to be introducing safety, maintenance issues. I'll read you direct quote. This is from the pre-feasibility study. It says that some study of the potential building solutions were looked at, including the Hilltop site. They concluded that a 50 to 60 foot grade difference between the high end and low end of this building envelope would result in create a financially untenable building solution and or a functionally compromised building plan. Anybody with common sense is going to say, hey, they say they don't have room. They got all these other stories. The answer is they got 60 acres of land, 30 of it's developed now. They're trying to build a school that's 135,000 square feet footprint, which is about 3 acres. So we know there's a place that it can be made where it would not be on a northwest facing hill that's going to be introducing, even when there's frost, it's going to be hard to maintain the steps. People are going to get hurt. It is dangerous. The fact is that sidewalks are as critical as toilets. And now at least they're going to put in sidewalk on one side of this half-mile long driveway. But it's just a matter of time before someone gets hurt. And the real thing is we're all taxpayers, and it's going to cost a lot of extra money blowing up a hillside when you're 150 yards away from the building and it's all bedrock. They know it's going to be absolute. The geotech says some of the rock takes 3 hours to drill a foot. So,
well, we in Woburn have had a project that was at the Ledges, and many of the neighbors who lived through that experience will have very strong feelings about the impact that taking out a hill like that has, and the scale of that was actually less than this. So I think we certainly as a community are concerned about that. One of the things that I'm not sure that a lot of people will know, because if their students have gone to the traditional high school in Woburn, they don't realize how much students come and go from the school as they do in the vocational environment. Vocational students, as they get older, do internships and work studies and things outside of the school building. So you actually have, it's not just a parking lot for convenience. Students have to have vehicles on campus because that is how they get to their jobs. And that job is part of their education and part of their training. And while not every student partakes in it, there's certainly a lot of it coming and going. And so I just wanted to raise that because I'm not sure that everyone might be thinking about that, because we don't have, students come into the Woburn school and they come in the morning and they leave in the afternoon. And for the most part, they're in the building for the remainder of the time. And that won't be the case here. I'm sure that there are other considerations, but that's one I wanted to make sure we raised.
just think about the campus once it's built. If you've got that much of a disconnect between all of the athletic fields, all of the parking, it's just going to make things much more challenging financially, logistically. It just doesn't make sense to destroy that much of the environment when they have 30 acres already that they have developed. So it wouldn't take rocket science to go with option C2 or come to an environmental situation where you don't have to sacrifice this really pristine. And one thing that we want to clarify is the superintendent DeBerry was quoted in the Globe saying that it's not lush forest, it's bedrock. Well, according to the guidelines that the state has for conservation called the Biosphere 3, it is a core forest habitat of the highest order. And the only core forest habitat that we have in Wakefield is that part that's going to be cut down and breakheart. Everything else is too fragmented. So it is the highest order, as they say in the state database, for land to be protecting for species, climate, and every other reason that makes sense. And unfortunately, the plans don't include that at this time.
Paul, when are they expected to break ground?
They already had the ribbon cutting previously. They don't have all the permits. I believe that they're talking about February, March, but they still need to get a permit from conservation. And Linda may know what other guidelines, hurdles they need to get through, but it's not too far away. And I guess nobody's asking, what are the students going to feel like when they're feeling their desk shake and their car's covered with soot? And with the stress they already have to worry about, I can't imagine the option of blasting on nights and weekends is going to be an option. So I assume it'll be blasting while kids are in school.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the reality is no matter which spot it is, there will be disruptions to students in terms of there will be construction that is happening, and that is going to happen. I think that there are really good questions and concerns raised about how do we mitigate that during the build time? How do we make sure that there's a school and footprint? Linda, for those folks who might be interested in participating and learning more and advocating to make sure that this is the best place and location, what action should those Woburn residents take to participate in the process?
Well, please visit our website at nemtforest.org. You can reach out to us through the website. There's also Facebook pages. There's a petition. We will have information that will help you reach out to your representatives, but basically spread the word. So few people are even aware this is happening. It's shocking. We've been doing outreach at the Wakefield entrance to Breakart. We've had people shouting at us that we are lying, that the school is being built on the football fields. I mean, there's really very little understanding, I think. And I think that's partly because for so many years, since 2016, basically we've been told it's going on the athletic fields. The switch happened at the last minute. February 2021 was pretty recent, and that information did not get circulated widely in the community because although the vote was overwhelmingly positive, only 5% of people voted. So the great majority of people are still not really tuned in to the issue. And one of the points that Superintendent DuBarry made was that they're not going to change course at this point. They've already spent $4 million. Well, $4 million is 1% roughly of what's going to be spent. And because by their own documents, building on the athletic fields has the lowest new construction cost and the shortest building construction schedule, they would still be ahead if they switched now and went back to their February 2021 option and said, we're going to build on the athletic fields.
Thank you so much, both Linda and Paul, for raising us and making us aware of what's happening. As always on this show, it's our goal to help people understand and learn about what's happening in our community and encouraging people to take action on the things that they think are important and want to learn more about. I think we as a community are definitely in favor of having a new school. Our students deserve that. My hope is that the new school will be accessible to everyone, will be fabulous and strong, and hopefully can have the least impact to the land surrounding it as possible. As always, Woburn, continue to take good care of each other.